Hey, this is Joan. I wanted to give you a quick recap of 3.2.4 that we looked at today. You're not going to see it until next spring, so I thought you might want some insight into the spreadsheet that the students have to do. It's called When is Good, Good Enough? And I'm just going to scroll down to the part where the students are working on the spreadsheet. It's in step 11, I believe. Yeah, so the students have to download and open this manufacturing data file, and there's two tabs on it, original and test. And they want the students to look at sample data from 50 jumbo rolls of that pulp paper. They don't have population data, they just have sample because they just have 50 rolls, they don't have all of them. So we want to take a quick look at the difference between having sample statistics or the sample standard deviation, this formula here, and not the population because we only have 50 roles. So let's see how that plays out in Microsoft Excel. So the students will have this file, the original file, and it has the original data, and it shows them how to set it up for what they are working on. So it gives them the number of roles, the number of each role, and then the intrinsic viscosity for each one of them. So that students will look at this and say, okay, they've got the metric, they've got the number of roles that have that metric, meaning that there's one role that has 19 as its viscosity right there. There's only one. And then they look at it for each one. Their range is 19 to 27, which they would have to go through and get from column B right here. So they have to figure that out when they get their own data. Then they have to figure out the probability, the mean, and the sample standard deviation and create a histogram. So on your teacher one, and this is what I'm in the teacher answer key, it has the answer key for you on the test side, but the students would actually see it blank. So they wouldn't have any of this. Let's see if I can delete it all. I can't. No. So the students would be totally blank. I wanted to show you how to populate this so you can teach your students. So this whole thing from column D to I is missing on the student one, and you'll show them that. So what you would do is on the test tab down here, have the students set up a chart that shows the IV just like on the original tab, and the number of jumbo rolls and the probability. The IV metric, they're going to look at column B and figure out what the range is. We know that it is 20 through 26 for this particular data. So they would come down here and say, what's the lowest? What's the highest? And is everything in between here? In this case, it is 20, 21, 22, all the way through to 26. Then they'd have to come through and say, okay, how many of these in here have 20? Oh, there's only one. So I'm going to type 1 right here. How many of these have 21? Oh, there's only 2. There's this one and this one. And you could have them highlight it in different colors. That might help them. So there's 21 and there's 21. There's only 2 of them. So I'm going to type 2 right here. That's how they figure out that column. I'm going to copy the rest since we already have it. Remember, the students don't have any of this. And then they want to put a total sum of how many roles that we have here because there should be 50 total. So you come down to the last data sample they collected, shift and hold your arrow keys going upwards to collect it all, and then click auto sum. So we'll get the sum of that. We know that the total is 50. Good. We have 50 over here on the left side. We are in agreement. So that's good. For the probability, the students can look back on their original tab, look at the probability, and then see what the formula is. And you can teach them that it's just equals to parentheses, and you want to just do each one divided by the total. So in this one, this is column O, it's number 4. I can just click on it, put divide by the total, close your parentheses, and enter. And you do that for each one. So I'm going to do equals parentheses, the second one divided by the total, close parentheses, enter. And then equals to this one divided by the total. Oops. There you go. So you do that for each one, and you'll see that it are coming up the same as what they had on the answer key on the teacher side. Because they give you the answer key, but they don't explain exactly how to get there. Okay, and then you can auto sum this by selecting just the numbers from bottom to top, shift, and then use your arrow key, hit auto sum, and you'll get 1. So they've got their table here, and now we want to calculate the mean. So I'm going to come over here and type in mean, leave a little space here. All we have to do here is come up to the formulas and find average. And then it wants to auto-populate what's next to it, but we're going to just come over to column B and just take the numbers and scroll down to the last one. Scroll back up, I went too far, hit enter. And when you see that, you get to 22.82, and they have it rounded up to 23 over here, so you're good. For the sample standard deviation, I'm going to copy the title. Give it a little more space. I'm going to get rid of this column so I can be a little closer to it so you can see better. Here you go. Okay, so for sample standard deviation, we want to come here. It looks like they merged some columns. That's not necessary, but we'll do that. Come up to your formulas where it says auto sum. It's just the most recent one used is up there. Click more functions. And then we want to look up, if it doesn't populate already, I'm looking at some statistical formulas to use, and there's 2. There's standard deviation sample and standard deviation population. We want to use sample. So click that, click OK. And then right when it populates here, you're going to select your same column. And I'm shift arrow. There you go. And then hit OK. So 1.08214, and that's the same as this one. Remember, this is your teacher answer key, so the kids will be blank right here. So that's how you calculate those. To do the histogram, if you click on it, it shows you what they used. But in order to make your own, you come over to your data here. I'm going to go like this. Actually, if I include the titles, they'll come up, but you can always add your titles later. So select your data or select your data and titles, and then we're going to go to insert, and I believe it's this one, the columns. I think if you hover on it, it says insert column or bar chart. I'm going to go to more, and I'm going to click this one. There we go, and click OK, and that'll populate for you. So you can see it has a different title because it just selected what I had up there. You can change all of that. You can come over here to this one. You can choose your axes, which way they're going to go, your titles. If you want titles on your Y and your X, your chart title, I can change that from jumbo rolls to IB data histogram like you see on the left. And you can get very specific with this. So you can do your everything that you want in here. So that's how the students would set it up, and that's how you can work it through in your classroom. I hope that helps a little bit. Thank you.